Good day, friends. MC Starman here with my friend Dayana Robinson. How you doing, Day?
Hi, I'm well overall. It's kind of a roller coaster these days. So stormy, but not stormy, but stormy.
Stormy, but not stormy, but stormy. That's about how I feel too. We're here today to talk about the eclipse, the lunar eclipse that comes to us on May 15th, Sunday at 9:36 p.m. This eclipse will be visible for most folks here on Vancouver Island. We're not going to see it very much at all, if any, but anywhere east of us, the more you go east, the more you're going to see it. It's visible for all of the United States and South America. And then most of the eastern part of Canada will see the eclipse. So, and a lot of it will be a full eclipse. So go out there and see the eclipse. How do you feel about seeing an eclipse?
I love it. It's been a special thing in our family. We've always celebrated eclipses, driven to places to have great view of them, or taken time to meditate or take sacred time on the eclipse times of year, especially if we can see them. But there is an eeriness to them too.
Yeah, and especially in the older days, people were very suspicious of eclipses. They of course they saw them coming because they knew astronomy and astrology quite a bit, and they knew when they were coming, but they was always looked at the very inauspicious. They have the myths of the dragon swallowing the moon, and so usually people would go to sacred places and to sacred river and bait and do so I think that in that sense it's a really good time for spiritual practice. And I think you don't really want to have an attitude of kind of touristic attitude. I think it's more of a humble attitude of prayer that's really good to have during an eclipse. And then before the eclipse, we have tomorrow, the 10th, we have Mercury turning retrograde and Jupiter entering into Aries. That's going to be key. Jupiter entering into Aries should give us interesting. Jupiter in Aries means let's go forward, and Mercury retrograde on the same day. Okay, so it's kind of confusing like that, and that's like you were saying in the beginning. It's kind of doing great, and we're not so great at the same time. It's like pulling teeth, or it's not so easy. And so that'll be interesting to witness those energies. We did a really nice video on Mercury retrograde in our last video. Go check that one out. We got lots of dates and information about the full scope of Mercury retrograde. Now this video, we're going to have a focused lens on just this week. We got a few charts to show you about what this week will feel like. Of course, we start with Mercury retrograde tomorrow, and then let me show you what we got here.
So tomorrow, May 10th, is a big day. It's definitely going to kick off the rest of this week with some potent energies that are going to guide us through spring, with a Mercury retrograde going back on the way, and then Jupiter, our expansion self, moving forward into Aries. Yeah, that's going to be calling us for a whole new ability to grow. But it kind of goes with a theme that's been coming up, at least for me, a lot this year, where it's really having to integrate this new level of the duality living at once. So feeling really happy and really sad at the same time, or feeling like you're making so much progress and also going nowhere at the same time, and how this polarity of duality can be experienced at the same time. I feel like it's been a bit of a theme, and I guess if I go back, it's 2022 and duality and 222, and that's kind of the year we're going through.
Absolutely. I did a video with Noah Sibuliak. I don't know if you watched that one.
No, I saw a post, though. I'm excited to.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. And that lens is, we look at all the way into 2023, cool. But we look at the the eclipse season, but we also look at, what we've been talking about, leading to this, we've been talking a lot about this, right? That Mars, Jupiter, Neptune. So in this on the 11th, the Mars, Jupiter, Neptune triple conjunction, you see here, Jupiter is entering into Aries. And then we have a moon, Pluto, Sun, Uranus, grand trine, forming a grand kite. I like to call it the bow and arrow. So the release point of the arrow here is the moon, and that Mars Jupiter that Mars Jupiter Neptune triple conjunction. Now Mars is moving away, and then Jupiter is moving in, and then Mars is moving towards Neptune. So we'll be looking at that. But a grand kite, especially an Earth grand kite, we're really attentive to the earthly energies move. So that should be a really interesting week of kind of, there's a lot being done. Things are really busy, huh? Do you feel that too?
So busy.
So
it's kind of my trademark name, but yeah, so busy.
Things are manifesting well, though, with an Earth grand trine, Moon, Sun, Uranus, Pluto, it's kind of a super manifesting kind of time. And with that Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, maybe we're getting a little bit of this mystical vision that's emerging out of all that Piscean energy. We're starting to feel some hope about it. Does that resonate with you?
Definitely. The moon in Virgo being the release point feels also like keep doing your daily work, keep doing your daily practice, make sure you ground it out, because that Pisces is so beautiful and mystical. But I guess the shadow of Pisces is that it can be kind of disassociative. And the Virgo is really good at bringing it back to present, bringing it back to body care, self-care, daily practice. And that's how we make these dreams happen, right?
Right. And then the next day, the 12th, so that's Thursday, then the grand trine shifts a little bit. And now we have a air grand trine, or at least two of the planets are in air. So we have Mercury, Moon, Mercury retrograde, and then Pluto, so then, Pluto in the 10th house, and Pluto, death and rebirth, and Mercury retrograde, introversion. And again, it's doing a grand kite with Mars and Jupiter and Neptune. So I think that, when with air signs and the communication and exchange, so it's, it ought to be a very potent time for really meaningful discussions. And again, with that, arrow point being, that Jupiter coming into Aries in mutual reception with Mars and Neptune, there ought to be a pretty interesting week. And then, of course, we have that Mercury retrograde going on. So being mindful of those energies, we want to keep track of that. And then we move towards the full moon. So what are the main things that we're going to be looking at as we move towards the full moon?
Well, tomorrow's the biggest probably one, which is Mercury retrograde, Jupiter in Aries. And then, like you were speaking about, there's the grand trine. If you want to pull that chart back up.
I'm gonna get the
jump to the full moon.
Yes, I'm gonna go to the full moon here. That's 12. Boom, here we go. And so the full moon. So the full moon story, well, there's two things, leading to the full moon is Venus becoming in exact conjunction with Chiron. And then the day after the full moon, Mars moves into an exact conjunction with Neptune. And then we have our full moon here. So sun, moon in Scorpio, sun in almost exact conjunction with the nodal axis. And so that, that's the sign of a So the closer the moon and the sun are to the nodal axis, the more that full moon's going to be visible, and
the
eclipse is going to be visible. Yes. And so, and that's 9:14 p.m. So right as the sun is setting, the moon will be rising. So right at the moonrise, of course, that's on the West Coast here. And that's partly why we won't be seeing it, but they'll be higher in the sky as you move towards the east.
We're going to see the moon coming out of the eclipse. So really, I think the best time for us to really watch it might be closer to 10 p.m.
Well, yes, but the moon rises, you know, and then it's still going to be light a lot, and the moon rises at 9:15. Or no, the moon will be rising before 9:15. So depends, you know, it may not be high enough for us to get to see it really fully.
I'll have to go climb up a mountain.
Climb a mountain and hope for the best, or take a flight to the East Coast. And then the moon is in a T-square to Saturn. And with that Uranus and that Mercury retrograde, so a lot of the confrontation of this, you know, with this Saturn Uranus square and what's been going on with that, you know, still in our minds. I think you know, what do you feel about the crisis and what's going on in this Saturn Uranus square? What do you hear? You
mean the Saturn Uranus square that kind of kicked it off?
Well, it's kicked it off, and then now this full moon eclipse is, you know, in the direct alignment.
Coming into square, yeah.
And
again,
and it's again, and I think we're going to be exploring this in the video we did with Noah. We explore this, and we explored the summer, the Taurus, the Leo full moons that are going to be in T-square with Uranus and Saturn. And then we looked at the next eclipse season, and also in T-square with Saturn, Uranus.
Well, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that the new moon that we had about a week ago was Mars was, I guess Mars wasn't quite conjunct Saturn then, but there's this, when I think of the Scorpio Taurus axis, there's this desire for what you want to have and where you're moving, and also what needs to be let go of to get there. So there's this deep letting go, and there's also sometimes to let go of something you have to have a new realization to be able to let go, or sometimes the realization comes after you've had to let go. And Saturn can be kind of the wake-up call for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. It can kind of ring the big church bell or say, hey, are you paying attention? Look up.
Right.
So there could be a lot of that. I've seen that in people I know in communities, a different awareness of what they've just gone through the last couple of years. There's a new perspective building, it seems like, in the collective on what has gone on, and maybe more so is what does the future now look like? Because there's hold back to normal. There is no back to normal. Like, that's kind of a fairy tale.
Well, I think that the focus is becoming much more on socioeconomics.
Yeah.
I think that the reality of our time is sinking into people, and that this, you know, whatever that new normal feels like, I think we have to co-create that new normal.
Agreed.
but it's not really that easy, huh?
No, and that's again that like Taurus Scorpio, like Scorpio's sharing of resources to become more powerful. Like you share your finances, or you share your home, or you share a car, and there you're both more well off for it. And Taurus is self-sufficiency. I'm more well off because I only have to take care of myself. And there's definitely a beauty to both sides, and there's a weakness to both sides.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. We just had that Sun Uranus conjunction last week, you know, that was really significant. And that's still really much in the picture with Mercury. We also had a Mercury Uranus conjunction. So I think that we're really actively, I was thinking about myself, you know, in the process I've been going through. It's like, okay, you know, how do I get enough inspiration to move forward in this, you know, and Sun in Taurus, it's all about, you know, being stable and to create sustainability, while Moon in Scorpio is about facing the darkness and the insecurities, and then that Saturn Aquarius. So I think we're really concerned with, what, if we're stable. We were talking about the last new moon, we talked about seeking a safe container.
Yeah.
I think that that's still very much of the issue, but with the moon Scorpio, it's like, what's my motivation? What's the, what is my really deep, profound desire? And then, like you were talking also about that Mars, Neptune, Jupiter in Pisces, so that's,
it's neat how Scorpio's ruler, I mean, traditional old school is Mars, and Taurus ruler is Venus, and they're both in their detriment right now. They're not very empowered. The Venus taking care of self, the Venus to lavish and the inner feminine, and then the Mars to like day by day get things done, to show up and show action. They're both able and they're both working with other planets right now, but they're not in their strength or their glory.
No. And then the Mars Jupiter mutual reception rules most of the chart. Mercury rules itself in Gemini, and then Saturn rules Pluto. So those are really patterns that we've been seeing all along. I think the two really interesting thing is, one, that Venus Chiron, we don't see it very much here, only goes to Uranus. But Venus being, my inner child and my need to connect with beauty and love and creativity in exact conjunction with Chiron, the call to shamanic healing and the call to healing the wounded healer. And so that Venus Chiron conjunction happens. What date is that Venus Chiron conjunction?
That's right before the full moon, hours before the full moon on the 15th.
On the 15th as well. So then, keeping, track of the wounded healer and the need to express oneself creatively. So I've been struggling so hard to set up my art studio again and to try to have time for my creativity, and yet I'm having so much resistance. So I'm hoping that that all of the Mars energy helps in that. And then the other thing that we need to look at is that Mars Neptune conjunction, and that comes together on the 17th. And Mars Neptune has an interesting relationship. So it's a Mars Neptune in Pisces. So like we explored the theme of finding a safe container. What's your experience with Mars and Neptune?
Mars and Neptune going towards the unknown. Like there's this action, and yet the Neptune is untangible. That's how I connect with it. And then in Pisces, yeah, the disassociation or the wanting to be in a la la land, the wanting to run away, or maybe tune out, get high, watch a show, tune out.
Yeah, no, the mystical connection or the return to the connection with the divine that's experienced in these acts of merging. So Mars Neptune, Liz Green talks about Mars Neptune, it's the call to mysticism and the mystical warrior, but also there's a certain sense of victimization. Mars Neptune, I don't really, I'm a victim of all of this. I want to escape reality, find some kind of salvation. And so keeping an eye on that. And then as the month moves along, then Mars and Jupiter, and then we broke it all down in the last video on Mercury retrograde, talking about the Mercury Sun conjunction that comes on the 21st. And then the Mars Jupiter conjunction that comes on the 30th. Those are really important dates. So being mindful of the inspiration, and then, concentrating and focusing our energies on understanding and realizing that Mercury is going retrograde. So it's a good time for introversion and for really analyzing what our motivation is, where we're going, being able to review our direction. And then those two grand kites in the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, will provide a lot of energy. and then we go into this really intense full moon. I don't know, it seems like we're already experiencing pre-full moon kind of energy, and it's only a week away, but I think it's been building quite a bit. We've been pent up for years now, and socially, it's quite a lot, huh?
It is. I think it's also like what I mentioned earlier. There's this the build up to this full moon. We just hit a square of the moon is 45 degree or 90 degrees off of where it's going to be on the weekend for this full moon.
Right.
So gives the kind of the first preamble the last 2 days we've been with Moon and Leo, and can be playful and creative, but it's not felt so playful and creative like Moon and Leo usually does. I think it's this building of what's underlying, what's really going on. That what you were speaking to with this Mars conjunct Neptune, and doing this either the victimization, or I guess part of how I looked at reality at times, especially through the astrological lens, is that there's an energy imprint coming, and how you work with it's up to you. And so if you can call back your power to play with it, and say there's a place where you need to feel sad, and you're going to feel sad either way, but how you choose to react and work with the sadness, whether that's go and cry or get angry about it and resist it at all hell. And I'm not saying this is going to be sad as much as a deeper underlying look at things, and that can be hard. But if we're able to pull in the mystical, pull in the time for prayer and retrospect, like introversion and retrospect, retrospect, but reflection,
right?
That you can probably do a lot of deep healing with this Venus conjunct Chiron. I think there's a lot of opportunity for some big healing work for your individual soul.
Absolutely. I think it's a temptation to resist the temptation to go, and to actually take some time off and take care of yourself. And we were talking earlier about when the sun and the moon were in Pisces, and we had all of this concentration of energies in the Pisces. And we talked about, there's something really deeply creative about despair. The sadness of soul that drives us to prayer and to creativity. That, in a sense, is a great gift of Pisces. Yeah. But so we've been going through a lot of Piscean energy in the last, few months. And then this is kind of the end of it. By the time the 30th of May comes along, and Mars and Jupiter conjunct both in Aries, that's liable to feel a lot more energetic, bound to see the weather warm up a little bit. And so I think that this is a really good time to refocus yourself and to reassess your priorities with Mercury retrograde and with this eclipse as we move forward, because it's liable to be a busy summer. I think we're all feel it coming. It's already crazy busy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There's a lot of work to do.
And at the same time, a lot of play to do. Take some time to play. Take some time to make some art and have a little fun, and take good care of yourself, because really, if you're not well, then nothing really works well. And so being well is really a big thing. Thanks for listening and tuning in. We're up to 365 subscribers to our channel. Please subscribe, and thank you for those who are subscribing, for supporting us. Comment if you like the video. Please give us a thumbs up. Send us some love, and any questions you have on anything. And we'll see you in a week with a video on the coming new moon. With Dayana Robinson, I'm Martin Comtois. You guys be good to yourselves. Whoop, whoop, whoop.